Bob, you just finished your first NFL draft as an NFL GM. What's your overall feeling walking away from it?
I feel great. You know, it's a big relief that it's over. It went really according to plan. I think everyone's our goal going into the draft was to acquire tough, big, physical, durable guys that are versatile football players, and I felt like we accomplished that.
You said going into the draft that you expected it to be a calm room, you know, all the board was set and you were just going to follow the board. Did it play out according to how you expected it to?
It did, yeah. It was a very calm room. It was quiet. There was some excitement after we took our picks, which is natural, and it was fun. Really, the post-draft process is where it gets loud and there's a lot of people talking. But during the first 7 rounds, it is a lot of people, you know, sitting around looking at the board, having small discussions with Coach or Kyle, and then, you know, after we make the pick, people get excited and we move on to the next guy.
Let's talk about some of those picks there. Obviously, there were a lot of linemen selected by you guys. 5 out of your 10 draft picks were linemen. You've talked about the focus on the trenches. Why was that important to you in this draft?
Yeah, I think it's a position that we looked at in free agency and we really didn't see exactly what we wanted to. So I felt like the draft was a really good opportunity to add to the offensive line competition. We have a lot of good players on the offensive line currently. And I think with the additions that we made, you know, both offensively and defensively to the lines are going to improve this football team.
Why are the trenches such an essential part of a football team? Seems obvious. But
yeah, I think, you know, you have a quarterback like ours, you got to make sure that he's protected. And I think that's one of the things that going into the draft that I wanted to address. And I felt with the guys that we added, I think we got better at those positions.
Let's talk about some of those picks that were made on the final day of the draft today. One of those being you guys selected a quarterback. That was Michigan quarterback Jake Rudock. Why was he your guy at that spot?
Yeah, Jake's a really interesting story. He's a transfer from Iowa, came to Michigan, really improved as his senior year went on. As you watch him throughout, you know, the first couple weeks were okay, and as the season grew on, he played a lot better. He went down to the East-West Shrine game and did a good job down there. And in the final thing that did it for us is we had him in for our local pro day, and he had a really good workout, and I really felt strongly that he would be a guy to add to the quarterback room.
One of the picks that maybe surprised some people today was selecting a long snapper in the 6th round. Why was he the top player on your board at that point?
Yeah, Jimmy was a player that we targeted for the last couple months as the best long snapper in the draft. So, you know, he's a guy that he's going to come in and compete with Don for that spot. And you know, I think I said it many times in the last few months. I want to create competition at every level of the roster. So that's why we made that pick.
What's the value of a long snapper in the 6th round of a draft?
Yeah, it's funny when you have the long snappers on the board because you're trying to predict what other teams may or may not take them. So it's kind of a little bit of a draft strategy that goes on as well. So I think it's one of those things where you know, you got to take them if you want them because you never know what's going to happen after the draft. There's no guarantees in rookie free agency, so I felt it was the right time to take Jimmy.
You talked after day 2 about wanting to address the skill positions a little bit more. Do you feel like you did that as extensively as you wanted to? Yeah,
there were some positions that I was going into hoping to take a few players, and it ended up just the board didn't fall that way. So, you know, the receiver position is an area we didn't address in the draft, which, you know, sometimes that just happens and guys are graded higher. And like I said before, I always try to follow the board as best as possible, and that's kind of where we left it.
Walking away from the draft, what do you feel like the overall statement you made with your first draft class was?
I wanted to improve the depth and improve the competition of the team, and I think we've done that. I think that the roster building is not finished. You know, just because the draft's over and we're in the middle of rookie free agency right now, you know, there's going to be more roster movement. That's the NFL, and you know, I'm going to continuously look at the waiver wire every day as it comes out and see if we can improve the roster going forward.
So the draft just ended a couple hours ago, but what are you guys up to now? What's next?
Yeah, I mean, the coaches and scouts are still in the draft room working on some rookie free agents that we're trying to sign. So that process is really, you know, wrapping up here probably in the next hour or so. And I think, you know, by tomorrow we'll have a firm grasp of who we committed to and hopefully get all those guys in here for Thursday for rookie minicamp.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your insight on the draft.
Thanks for having me.